Okay, so do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, Ed, what you do and why you do it?
Yeah, so I guess you could say I'm like a dating coach, but I guess more specifically, I do more like what's known as day game. And day game is basically, it's more of a focus on just approaching or like cold approaching people in public to, start off an interaction and, see what can come from that. So it's not exactly the same as like a traditional sort of dating coach, which is more like a sit down in a more of like a as you might find in like a therapy session, something like that. This is a bit more kind of like action based, I guess you could say. So it's more about sort of taking practical action.
Are you picking up women to start relationships or is it for casual dating?
Me personally, or the clients?
You personally and the clients.
So me personally, I tend to do more casual dating because that's just kind of like my own preference. But I guess with clients, it really varies. So some want to do just casual dating. Some are looking to find the one or find a girlfriend, find a long-term partner. And others just want to, some just want to improve their confidence. Some people, or they might have like extreme social anxiety. So they want to, focus more on that, but in a kind of dating context. So yeah, it really varies from person to person, I would say.
And what brought you to becoming somewhat of a dating coach and getting into day game? Have you struggled with women in the past, or what got you into it?
So for me, yeah, it was definitely a struggle in the past. So like when I was at uni, I didn't really have a clue what I was doing in terms of dating. So it was only until I was about 24, 25, something like that, when I kind of tried to, take a more proactive approach to actually figure out like, how the hell am I supposed to actually get a girlfriend? Or like, how is it supposed to work? Because I didn't have a clue. I was completely clueless. So yeah, it kind of started off like that. And I kind of took a more kind of comedic angle to it initially. So I was doing, prank videos back in the day, or like, funny videos, stuff like that. And I would incorporate, pickup or, some kind of day game angle to some of the videos as well. So it kind of started off from a place of kind of ridicule or humor. And then it transitioned more into, I guess you could say, slightly more serious. But in the end, it's all, the way I see it is just, it should just be a fun activity that you enjoy all the time, no matter what anyway.
Do you think pickup artistry works?
Um, it depends what you mean by pickup artistry. If you mean, because the thing is, different people have different interpretations of what that means. So there's various connotations about it. So like, traditionally pickup artistry might mean, using tricks and techniques or even some form of manipulation to kind of get people to like you or even more. And if you're looking at it from that angle, then obviously that's something I stay away from. I don't associate with that. But if you mean just kind of cold approach, then yeah, that's what I focus on. So cold approach, it basically just means two strangers meeting for the first time, seeing if there's some kind of connection, seeing if things can be pushed further. If you both like each other, that's essentially what it comes down to, really.
I have noticed that a lot of guys in your community go to countries in Eastern Europe or places in Russia, Ukraine, Odessa. Why are you guys drawn to those places? I know that some of you say that there is the most beautiful girls in the world. Is this true? Is it easier for you to pick up women in those countries compared to the UK or the USA? What's been your impression?
I mean, to be honest, yeah. I mean, the girls here in general, the standards of beauty are much higher than pretty much anywhere else in the world. And yeah, for whatever reason, there are, certain standards of beauty which attract guys to certain places. For me, yes, I do find the girls here extremely attractive, but it's not the only reason. So like I always tell guys that yes, if you are considering traveling, then the women should be one consideration, but it shouldn't be your only consideration. So don't just come here just for the women, and it's not going to work out really, sustainably anyway, because even though there are extremely beautiful women here, it's not without its difficulties and it's not without its disadvantages. I guess the primary one being the language barrier. So yeah, it's not like a perfect location, but in general, I do recommend traveling because it's just something different for a lot of guys, and the experience is really, really cool. And I guess what it is for a lot of people in general is just, the whole concept of the grass is greener on the other side. So, whenever there's a kind of change of scene or whatever it is, then, that's always going to be more kind of mentally stimulating. And that applies to pretty much anything in life anyway. So, yeah.
Why do you think it's harder for men to date women in the UK, places that are quite westernized, USA, places like that? Do you think feminism has become a problem and it's empowered women too much, where they kind of look past men?
I don't know about that. I think feminism might play a part in it, but I think I think it's just a general culture where there isn't as much kind of polarity in terms of kind of genders. If you compare that to, say, Eastern Europe, where the guys act very masculine, the girls act very feminine, and so there is that more distinctive polarity between the two, and that obviously transpires into the dating scene as well. So that it's just a bit more clearly defined. Whereas in the UK, it's a bit more jumbled up. Obviously, you are going to get some who do subscribe to those gender roles, but there's also going to be a mix. So, and the thing is, you just don't know that until you know the person. And so, let's say you are dating someone and you don't know them very well. You don't know where you stand. That's kind of the issue with places like the UK or America. You just don't know about that person. You could end up offending them, or you could end up having an amazing time with them. You just don't know. And that's kind of the issue with dating in the UK, I would say. But generally speaking, there is it's just there are different cultural differences in different parts of the world. So like in the UK, the genders are a bit more mixed, and there's not as clearly defined roles, I would say.
Why did you turn your passion for women into a career with traveling mixed in? Because I've noticed that a lot of coaches, and I spoke to James, decide to get into picking up women, approaching women, day game, things like that, but then they decide to turn it into somewhat of a business. What attracted you to doing that, and what was your reasoning?
Well, for me, I feel like a lot of guys can kind of, I guess, empathize with my own situation and vice versa. So like, I see myself the way I kind of struggle with women, and that applies to so many guys out there. So many guys out there who are struggling with dating or just meeting girls or meeting the right girl, that kind of thing. It is an issue, and it's an issue as well. Just generally stuff like social skills when it comes to dating. It's not easy for guys. There's so many guys out there who are kind of finding it difficult, and it's not an easy thing to really talk about. It doesn't really get discussed that much. It just happens, right? People, when they talk about dating, oh, I've met this person, whatever, the success stories are fine, but there's so many guys out there, the stuff that doesn't really get talked about the guys that struggle. And there's a hell of a lot of guys out there who are struggling. So for me, part of the motivation is really about helping those guys and having that really massive impact on their lives. I mean, for me, that's so empowering, and I love being able to just help guys out in that way. And then when you combine it with other things as well, so like travel, business, it works out really good in general, because travel for me is a passion that I really, really love. So if I can combine traveling with helping guys out, it's win-win, and it's really good. It's a really amazing experience.
What would you say about, I think it is scientifically proven, it's to do with pair bonding. If you were constantly having hookups or casual sex, doesn't that damage kind of your ability to pair bond and to actually bond with someone for a long period of time, say a potential spouse, wife, and to be able to settle down and to be able to build a family?
No,
Would you say that?
I disagree with that. No, I think obviously maybe for some people that might be the case, but I don't think you can sort of generalize saying something like that, because some people might just be looking at, in a certain stage of their life, they might just be looking for more casual stuff or more fun stuff, which is totally fine. I don't think that should be seen as anything. I don't think that should be seen as positive or negative. It's just something that people like to do. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that when some people reach a certain stage of their life, they might be looking for something a bit more serious or long term, and that's totally fine as well. I don't think that either one is superior or inferior to the other. I think they're both relevant and have their place. The only thing is how that's communicated to someone. That's the only thing where it's a bit of a grey area. It's how that is communicated to a new person, so that you're both on the same page, so that you're both have a mutual understanding of what the other person wants. Essentially, that's where it can get tricky. But I don't really think that if you spend the majority of your life doing fun casual stuff, that's gonna negatively impact you when it comes to trying to find something more serious later on down the line. Maybe for some people it could be the case, but I don't think it's something that for most people would be the case.
Are you honest with women and upfront? Do you say, I'm not looking for anything serious, just something casual? Or do you have a different approach? Because I was approached by a man where a couple of years ago, I was 22, who pretended that he was like in my industry, which I guess is possible. I mean, if you have a website and a blog. So he sent me those, and when I saw them, it was to do with attraction and stuff like that. He was kind of doing what you guys do, except he was UK based only, didn't travel, and was focused on Alan Roger Curry. I've said his name correctly, it's not Curie. And he used one mode on me. I did do some research and found out the technique he used on me. It was something like, I want to tease your sweet cheeks over some hot chocolate. I now find you very, very attractive. I don't believe in like monogamy, so I would happily have you as a friends with benefits or just friends. I will let you know when I decide, and this type of stuff. So obviously I was a bit pulled back. This is why I don't think pickup artistry works, because I think you have to have some type of attraction to the person. I don't feel.
Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. In some cases, that it's ideal if there is attraction for the other person almost immediately, but that's not always the case. Attraction can be built up over time if there isn't that much attraction initially, and that's actually where cold approach actually comes into play. That's where being able to have a successful or a good interaction with someone, you can actually build up attraction, because for some people it isn't so much physical or first impressions based. It's more when you get to know someone a bit longer, so attraction can be built.
I understand that, but sometimes pickup artistry is sold to some men as in, you can say these magic set of words, you can touch her here, 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 and it will make her attracted to you.
Yeah.
There was nothing. I could not have built any type of connection with this guy. He was a lot shorter than me. I'm 5'8". He was about 5'5", 5'2". I don't know, just small. Yeah. I have a certain set of preferences. I go for quite tall men, 6'4", sometimes even higher than that. Just 6'3", very, very tall. It would never have been able to work. So I was a bit taken aback by his approach. Why do you think some men will believe that you can speak to a woman like that? And are you as upfront and as honest as this guy was with me, saying that he just wanted to have casual sex? And I just didn't like how he was saying everything is on my terms. If I want to do this, if I want to be more than friends with you, then I will do that. And it was kind of like he was listing off some type of script, but trying to make it natural. It was over email. Um, he was very friendly in person and had, a good personality, but it just, I don't know. I don't think it works for me personally. That's my own personal experience. But you was upfront and as honest by saying, I'm not looking for anything serious. I'm not going to waste your time. I just want to, shag, basically.
Well, first of all, I think obviously you had like maybe one negative experience with a guy who was obviously immersed in the whole pickup stuff.
I know quite a few pickup guys. I know quite a few. I read the game when I was 19.
Yeah, I mean that stuff is very old and outdated, and even myself, I think most of it is complete nonsense. So I agree with you there. Like a lot of it is just a load of nonsense, and it's just marketed in a certain way. That's getting. It is basically making kind of false promises to guys, thinking that, oh, if you just touch a woman in this way and say these magic words, you're going to get her into bed. That stuff is a load of nonsense, and it's not something that I ever tell my clients or anything like that. The way I look at it is I try to be 100% honest and look at the objective reality at every moment. So, so for example, these sorts of like techniques about like, touching a girl when you're on a date or saying certain things, that stuff can help to build attraction or seduction, whatever. But it's no guarantee of success, and that's one thing that isn't really touched upon that much in the industry. There's a lot of people out there who kind of make these like false marketing claims about, oh yeah, if you just do these 3 steps, then you'll get any woman into bed, which is just a load of nonsense. It's like, that might work some of the time, but a lot of the time it's not going to work, and that's got absolutely nothing to do with pickup. It's to do with other factors that are far more important than just game. It could be just a whole bunch of other things like look, status, personality, etc., loads of different things that come into play when it comes to dating. As for the second part of your question, for me, when I'm dating, I try to be honest, but there is a limit to how honest you can be. So like, let's say I'm not looking for like, a really long-term relationship. I'm not gonna, tell a girl that, I'm looking for a long-term relationship, and I feel like I'm not entitled to do so either. So just because I'm dating someone doesn't necessarily mean that I have to kind of it's almost like I have to prove myself otherwise. It's like, oh, I need to be looking for a long-term relationship unless I have a good reason to not do otherwise, and therefore I should say so. I don't think there's like some kind of rule in that sense.
Not necessarily. What I mean is, are you upfront and do you just say, because I have had men say to me before, I have a girlfriend, really would like to have sex with you, let me know. Are you that?
Well, for me, I mean, with me, for me personally, I don't really talk about like, long-term plans with a girl. I think it's a bit uncalibrated to talk about that kind of stuff. I will never talk about long-term plans if it's like a first or second date.
Do you say, I just want to have something casual and be friends?
No, but I might invite the girl back to my place at the end of the date, and she has the option to say yes or no. And then she has the option subsequently to see me again if she wants to. Like, there's loads and loads of girls that don't want to see me again after the first date because they assume that I only want them to see them for sex, which isn't actually necessarily true, but that's their assumption, and they're totally entitled to not want to see me again after that, in the same way that I'm perfectly entitled to invite them over to my place, on the first date or second date or whatever. So I don't necessarily think that there's a particular right or wrong with this kind of thing. It's just about kind of doing what you want to do, and just going along with it, and then not being disappointed or not being disheartened if the other person isn't on the same page as you, because that's just the nature of dating. Not everyone's going to be on the same page as you.
So do you try and hook up on the first date?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Depends how I'm feeling.
What's your reasoning for that? To test drive, to just to see?
Nah, it just depends how I feel. Depends what kind of vibe I'm getting with the girl. Depends how I'm feeling in the moment. Depends. Yeah, it just depends on my own life. How I'm feeling. Sometimes I go through phases where I just want to get laid quickly, and sometimes I want to not get laid as often. It depends.
What's your success rate, and would you ever pay for sex?
No, I wouldn't pay for sex. Not right now. Maybe when I'm like 50 or something. When my what's known as like a sexual market value has decreased to a point where it's not really efficient to kind of go around
Explain
cold
that.
approaching. Well, obviously as you get older, it's gonna your looks aren't going to be quite the same, and obviously looks do matter when it comes to dating. I've never denied that. And so obviously as you get older, it's going to be increasingly more difficult. I'm talking like over the age of like 50 or whatever. It's going to be increasingly more difficult to get with young, attractive women. That's just the nature of reality. So at that point, maybe I would consider paying for it, but right now I wouldn't. No. But yeah.
I would say it's probably difficult for men over 50 to date younger women, unless they have money.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Yeah. Yeah, and even if I and that's the thing. Like I wouldn't want to be in like a relationship. I was like, if I was 50 and had the money to spend on a woman, I wouldn't want that kind of relationship anyway, because it just seems very kind of superficial, and it's not really something that interests me.
What's your opinion on other men that pay for sex? Is it something that you encourage?
I wouldn't encourage it. I mean, I mean, if you're a guy who's at a certain age, then okay, and you really want to have sex with young attractive women, then yeah, okay, maybe if you're a bit of an older guy. But if you're below the age of 50, or even maybe mid 40s, something like that, then I don't think you need to. I really don't think you need to. I think as long as you've got a positive mindset about it, you can learn the skills required for doing this, and you can definitely improve your situation. You can find yourself relationships, or casual sex, or whatever you're looking for, if it's a girlfriend, whatever.
Interesting. Can you explain the red pill, blue pill, and black pill ideologies, and do you subscribe to any of these?
Not really. No, I don't really. I mean, I don't really subscribe to much. To be honest, I don't really care much for it. I guess just a kind of a very crude summary. I mean, I guess the blue pill guys are guys who are like normal guys who believe in like a kind of a Disney fantasy of finding the one girl that's going to make them happy. Red pill are guys who are a bit more they're I guess come to terms with like the harsh reality of the dating marketplace, they're just, I guess they're a bit more cynical about it, and then black pill guys, I guess, are just to be honest, I don't really follow it much. I don't really care much for it. But I know that there are obviously a lot of online communities out there of like incels and guys who are like forming these communities where they can, I guess, just spout their stuff in a kind of cultish kind of way, which for me just never interests me. Whenever these like weird kind of cultish communities form, it just doesn't interest me. Even the same with like pickup. Even pickup can be a little bit cultish, and that just doesn't interest me. I'm all about kind of normalizing it. I don't think it should be something that becomes weird and esoteric. It should just be something that just normal everyday guys can do. Integrate it into your life. Don't think of it as such a big deal. Don't form your whole identity around it. Don't be so emotionally invested in it. Just have it as some part of your one form of your life, basically.
Have you come across any incels? Have you mingled with them? What's your perception of those types of individuals who, I guess, have faced a lot of rejection in their life from women, may not have the social skills acquired, believe they're doomed, and then this kind of turns, I guess, into a hatred for women?
Yeah, I've never met one in real life. I say met. I mean, I've encountered a few like online, and there've been quite a few actually, who have commented, on my YouTube channel. Generally going along the lines of, "Oh, you're wasting your time doing this. Women are only interested in money, or women are only interested in looks, or women are interested in this and that." When really, it's just it's just coming from a very defeatist mentality, and Yeah, as I said before, like these guys are kind of coming together, forming these identity groups where they can kind of spout their kind of negative stuff. And yeah, it's obviously people have got like a certain agenda. A lot of it is almost a bit kind of misogynistic and almost us versus them kind of mentality, and it's just something that I don't think is really helpful or necessary. I'm a firm believer that anyone can date and anyone can get into day game or whatever method you want to go down, as long as you've got a good attitude and you're relatively optimistic and just a generally good positive mindset. Anyone, no matter what your current situation is, doesn't matter what you look like, how old you are, what your social status is, where you are in the world, anyone can improve their dating life if they apply themselves.
Do you have a personal good success rate? So do you use, I don't know, apart from day game, when it comes to things like dating apps, do you use those as well as like approaching people in the street? What would your success rate be out of the girls that you go on dates with and then they do decide to come back to your house? How many of those would you say have slept with you?
Well, with day game, I mean, I primarily focus more on day game, definitely, compared to like dating apps, mainly because I find day game just more enriching. It's more authentic, it's more genuine, it resonates with me personally, and it's just more authentic. It has way more advantages, I think, compared to dating apps or other forms of like meeting people, mainly because you can actually get a feel for the person you're actually speaking to, which you can't really do with dating apps, for example. And when you do day game efficiently, i.e. integrate it into your life, so you're not just spending hours and hours and hours walking up and down various streets trying to pick up girls, when you just more integrate it into your life. So you're out for your grocery shopping, you see that attractive girl, you go out and approach her, and you chat to her for 5 minutes and you just carry on with your day. When you do that, that really adds up, and that can really be very a far more efficient way of doing it. I mean, as far as success rate, to be honest, like I don't really put much emphasis on success rates in terms of like sleeping with a girl constitutes success. I don't really see it like that. I just take whatever comes. I'm gonna try and flirt with the girl, I'm gonna try and escalate with the girl on a date if I find her attractive, and I'm gonna probably try and get her back to my place either on the first or second date. I don't necessarily think like, oh yes, I got her back, I'm successful, or like, oh no, I didn't get her back, she didn't want to come back to my place, fuck, I failed. It doesn't work like that. The way I see it, for me the journey is just as important as whatever the end result is. I just enjoy like the entire process of the whole thing, not just the sex or whatever. So for me, it's almost it's just a bit of a pointless thing to talk about, really.
And what do you tell women that you meet that your job is? Are some of them a bit? How do they take that you're a dating coach of sorts?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just one of those things where it can put them off a little bit if I tell them. But yeah,
You're
I mean,
a Matthew Hussey.
What's that? Sorry.
You're a Matthew Hussey. Is that what you say?
Not really. I mean, to be honest, no. I mean, for some of them, I mean, it can put them off a bit, but to be honest, I don't generally go into a huge amount of detail about it. To be honest, I don't even really call myself a dating coach because, that comes with all kinds of weird kind of connotations. Normally, I just normally say I help guys with their confidence, their social skills, their dating stuff, etc., etc. So yeah.
Okay. And have you had any long-term or I would say any girlfriends? Would you say any girlfriends from day game and how long have you been doing this?
So I've been doing it for about 7-8 years. No, about 7 years. I've like literally, and all of my girlfriends have been from day game. I never had any girlfriends before day game. It's definitely a good way to get a girlfriend for sure, 100%. I think it's far better than all the other options. mainly because obviously online dating, most people would agree it's just a bit trashy and very superficial. Your other options are very limited. If you're reliant on your social circle, there might be that attractive girl in your social circle. If so, you're extremely lucky. But for most people, they don't have that luxury. And so, cold approach is definitely, viable. It's probably the most viable option.
Interesting. I guess there's a lot of rejection that comes with day game though, because I know for women like myself, I'm a big girls girl. I have a huge group of girlfriends, especially if you live in a city like London. For us, anyone who comes up to me and talks to me, especially if they have a leaflet in their hand, I mostly have my headphones on and I will try and walk away as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So would you say that it's a numbers game? Because I'm not going to say I won't talk to anyone on the street, but it's very rare and it's normally a very natural conversation, like waiting to get off the tube. And my friend said to me, we were, in public, I would just hit the fire exit and say, it wasn't a man, but a woman in front of us heard and said, I want to do that right now. And then we get talking. Do you see what I mean? And we have a bit of banter back and forth. It's only when someone overhears a conversation or something like that. So would you say that, people that do day game do face a lot of rejection? Because I guess it's a numbers game.
Yeah, 100%. It's a massive numbers game, especially when you're going direct and you're stopping people in their tracks, like out in public, especially if they're walking. Yeah, massive numbers game. The majority of people, like it depends, like in what location you're doing it in. But yeah, in London, I would say like at least half, if not more, are just gonna not stop for you, or they're gonna just say something very briefly and just carry on. Because as you say, a lot of people associate it with like getting stopped for like signing up to a charity or someone selling you something, and it's just not something that you want to spend a great deal of time on. And that's understandable. So a lot of it, I always tell clients that you have to go in with this mentality of just not caring about the rejection, because you are going to get rejected a lot, and that's just the nature of it. But yeah, what you said about just talking naturally, I think there is certainly a place for being a bit more situational, like not just going in saying like the same kind of direct opener that I always say, which is like, hey, excuse me, this is random, I saw you from over there, thought you looked nice, so I wanted to say hi. But you can vary it up a bit. So like if you overhear them talking, then you could just join their conversation or something. Or if for example, if they're shopping, you could say like, oh yeah, I think that would look good on you, and then just try and start a conversation that way. What I don't really advocate is having kind of false motives at the beginning. So like asking for directions and then weaseling your way into kind of a more kind
or turning up at a journalism network event, pretending to have a blog, and then weaseling your way into my emails. I see your point.
Yeah, I take it that's what happened to you then.
Yeah, and also I briefly, when I was like 18, 19, was involved with someone from my friendship circle that had read the game. So I read the game and was very much into pickup artistry, magic tricks, etc., etc. So for me, if a man comes up to me like that, I said to the guy, like, I feel like you're trying to pick me up. Not my hazards go off, but I tend to, it wouldn't work. But for me, it's like, let's just say this. I went out over the weekend, and out of a whole club full of guys, bar full of guys, I'm barely attracted to say one or two of them. I can be quite fussy. So is it different for the men that you teach and for yourself, where you can it's a numbers game and you just go up to people? Because I don't know if that's something I could do personally, like approaching just men in this, because I just wouldn't be attracted to most of them.
If you wanted to, you could, and your success rate would be extremely high.
I know, and that's why
this is one of those things. It's like, the thing is, I've actually done like an experiment where this was actually back in the day where like I got one of my friends who's a girl, and she went out and she approached 100 guys and didn't do any talking. She just said, hey, excuse me, can I get your number? So, and her success rate was 50%. So 50% of guys gave out their number just like that, just straight off the bat. And so if you actually had a bit of a chat and you actually, you know, tried to build some rapport, have some banter and stuff, you know, and you had a good conversation with a guy, the results would have been even higher. Probably would have been more like at least 75%. So, you know, if
I
girls did actually approach more, it would be really, really good. And actually, you know, and it's exactly the same principle that I tell guys. It's like, yeah, you're going to get rejected, but you're going to get like some real success, and there's really nothing to be afraid of. I mean, just because someone says no, you know, it's not like they're going to bite your head off. You really got nothing to be afraid of. So, you know,
I
I mean,
understand that.
yeah,
I understand that as a woman, I know that I have like men, sex is easy for women to acquire. It's harder for men to acquire. I understand that. I know that if I've said this before, if I went up to some random guy on the street and said, would you like to come back to my house and have sex with me? Most of them would say yes. And that's probably why I tend to, you know, not value what am I speaking with, value casual sex, because it's so easy for me to do. If I
yeah, that makes sense.
it's boring. Do you see what I mean? There's
I know
no
100% what you mean.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
I could have
Yeah.
sex with as many guys as I wanted every day, every week, every month if I wanted to do that.
However,
It's dull.
I don't think it's necessarily has to be so focused on sex. It can just be, you know, a relationship. If you really wanted to get a relationship, you could approach guys, and there would definitely be guys out there who would be interested in a relationship. You know, just because if a girl approaches a guy, it doesn't necessarily mean it's because she wants sex. It could be for a relationship. It depends how you frame it, really.
I don't know. Even when it comes to relationships, I can be very fussy with who I would want to connect with. And I could be very, very attracted to 6'4", should we call him Chad? A 6'4" Chad, and then he's got no personality to back it up.
Yeah.
And then I've just instantly turned off. I think a lot of girls nowadays as well, me especially, it's very easy to get the ick. You know, someone says the wrong thing and it's talking. I was going to go on a date with a doctor, and he said to me that he believes that Matt Hancock, what happened to him was wrong and it's not in public interest. Instant turn off as a journalist. That was 100% public interest. I now don't want to date you because you've defended Matt Hancock. Your attraction has plummeted. Your number has been blocked. We will not be going for dinner anymore. So I do think that women are more complicated than men realize, even when it comes to sex as well. It can be a turn-off to feel or to think that a man just wants you for sex, because often in society, women are just viewed as pieces of meat or just for their body. So it's like, you're just looking at my outer shell. You're not bothering with my inner. I am seen as a disposable commodity to you. That's how I sometimes, you know, view things. So I don't know. I think honesty is the best policy. I would rather a guy say to me, I just want to have sex with you, and that's that. I like the blunt truth. And a guy that can handle rejection, if I say no, I wouldn't want to be lied to, just because you would know that I wouldn't want to deal with you if you just wanted me for sex.
Right.
I think it's best not to waste people's time.
Right.
And some women will say yes to that. Some women will say, yes, I just want to sleep with you. I'm cool with that. Let's go. I'm down. But others will not.
Well, actually, I think like if they're, you know, okay, obviously like a lot of girls, as a generalization, they do want to find like a long-term relationship. However, obviously there are, I guess you could say, a minority of girls out there who are just looking to hook up or something a bit more fun and casual. Even in those cases, you know, the girl wouldn't want it if the guy is too upfront and too direct and just, you know, it's too forward and be like, okay, let's go back and have sex and that kind of thing. You know, it has to be done in a far more subtle and seductive way rather than just a very kind of blunt way, even for the girls that are looking for something more casual, because the girl wants to be, she wants to feel special. She doesn't want to feel slutty or kind of whatever. She wants to feel special, and there needs to be some kind of seductive dance taking place between the man and the woman, even in those cases as well, to some extent. Obviously less if it's like, if the girl's looking for or sorry, yeah, less if she's looking for something casual, and more if she's looking for something more serious, like long term.
I do think, what was I going to say? So I know some men do think they are being smooth when they are not. So I've been on dates in the past where men sometimes feel like they can impress me with their status, which is fine. After dinner, please come with me. Please come with me. I need to unplug my car. It's charging. I don't care if you've got a Tesla. I can't even open the door to get in. So, and that to me is not smooth. And the smoothness of them trying to get me into bed is just like, when it's very quick like that on the first date.
Yeah.
So I don't know, each to their own. I don't think I've met a really, really, really smooth guy in a long, long time.
Yeah, and I think from your perspective, it would be difficult anyway, because obviously you kind of, it sounds like you know what you're looking for, and therefore you're the way you're kind of looking at it is going to be defined from your own perspective of the fact that, yeah, you are looking for something more serious. And so if there is any point where the guy has been, or like if the
it just can't be, I don't do shallow connections. My friendships with the people that I'm very close with, whether that be female or male, non-sexual, have depth, have trust, have loyalty, have understanding. I wouldn't just give my body to somebody who I didn't feel deserved it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If a guy did meet you,
there was a connection with, whether that be long-term or short-term, or we don't have a title at all. Sure.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because obviously you seem quite clear in terms of what you're looking for and what you want. That it doesn't matter how smooth the guy is. There's going to be very, very little he can do to change your mind anyway, because it sounds like, you're very clear in terms of what you're looking for, and not much is going to change that. So if the guy's trying really hard to get you in bed on the first date, it's just not going to happen, because, from your point of view, you're very kind of, you're very, you've clearly defined what it is you're looking for. And, no amount of game or seduction or whatever, or pickup ability is going to change that.
I had a relationship in the past where I actually slept with my boyfriend on the first date.
Yeah.
So I can't say that is true. It depends on the energy and it depends on the connection. I also had boyfriend number 2. He literally stripped on the first date, butt naked. I said no. And he said, okay, I will take you out for dinner. I will prove to you how much I care for you. Didn't sleep with him for 2 months. And he, came through properly. So I don't think it can be measured that way. It's about meeting the person for me and their energy. I guess you can tell when someone's a bit, I wouldn't say slimy, but I can tell when I'm just another notch on the bedpost and they may not want, I don't know, a proper interaction,
Yeah.
I'm very easily turned off by those guys. It's very easy to kind of weed them out. But I can't say that I wouldn't sleep with someone on the first date and then build a connection with them. It just depends on the individual at the time. Energy is different with everyone.
Sure. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. That makes sense for sure. That's even the same with me to some extent as well, because for me, I go through kind of phases in terms of my mood, in terms of like, do I feel like sleeping around or having fun, casual stuff or whatever. But sometimes, the vibe of the person can have that impact on me. Maybe if I wasn't really feeling it that much before I met the person, or like before I went on a date with the person, maybe that changes when I'm actually on a date with them. Things can change. It depends on the energy, the vibe, and that kind of stuff. Not just for me, but also the girl as well.
Does status matter more than looks?
probably yes. Depends on the girl, but in general, as a generalization, I'd probably say yes. You can see examples of that. If you take famous celebrities, they're not necessarily good looking, but they have extreme status, and yeah, they have extremely high sexual market value as a result of that. So yeah, in general, I would say so. Yeah, I've never. And I can't really speak from personal experience because I don't have that much status, as it were, in terms of like popularity or fame or whatever. So yeah, but in general, yeah, it's. I would say yes, it matters more.
What is a woman's sexual, what did you just say? Sexual market value. What's a
Yeah.
high value woman to you in your eyes?
Um, I guess obviously physical attractiveness is very important. That's just biology. That's going to be pretty much the case for the vast majority of guys in terms of what they're looking for. So that's sort of definitely up there. But above and beyond that, personality is still extremely important. How she carries herself. Me personally, what I personally look for is sense of humor, open-mindedness, how down to earth they are. Those would be the key things for me, and how well we kind of vibe and get on, I guess, in general, because that really varies from person to person. But beyond that, yeah, just I guess just a normal person, I guess.
Would you say, or have you experienced people with, I would say, dark triad personality traits, one being Machiavellianism, um, being drawn to your community?
Um, well, you do get all kinds of people getting into this. I'd say like majority of guys who get into pick up and day game, they're pretty cool guys. They're sound guys. They're just guys who want to improve their situation. They've got a bit of desire inside of them. They've got a bit of ambition, and which is obviously a positive trait because they're trying to improve themselves in some capacity. So yeah, you get guys who are quite driven. You do get a few bad apples, as in any place, in any community, you're always going to get a few bad apples. Guys who get good at it and then they maybe abuse their power a little bit. It's like almost like a newfound power that they've got, and then they abuse it a bit. So they might end up being a bit misogynistic towards girls, treating them badly because because they've got this newfound ability to improve their results when it comes to dating. So yeah, it can be abused, but in general, no. Most guys are cool. Most guys have good intentions, or they're just normal cool guys.
Would you say that you are hooking up with like the same person over and over again, sort of a friends with benefits, or is it multiple women at once? How many dates do you go on a week?
I don't really do multiple women at once, mainly because I don't really have time for that, and also it's not something I want to necessarily do anyway. And also there definitely comes a point in any relationship where you do need to set out what's happening. You do need to be honest. You do need to actually tell them what's actually going on. Obviously, when things start to become a bit more serious. As for how many dates I go in a week, it depends. So depends where I am in the world. So like right now in Ukraine, I've been going on, a few dates a week. Last year I was here as well. I was going on a date with a new girl like almost every day at one point, which was too much. And when I'm back in London, I normally do less because I've got other stuff to do. I want to see friends, want to do other activities and stuff. So it really depends where I am in life at that particular moment. But the way I look at it is that dating is just one aspect of my life. I never kind of revolve my life around dating. So that's one trap that some guys fall into, is where almost like their whole life revolves around picking up girls or going on dates or dating in general, when really it shouldn't be that way. It should be the other way around, I think.
That's what I was going to say. Is that not boring chasing tail every day? Like
Yeah,
to
it
me,
is 100%. Yeah,
if
it's draining. It's not just boring, but it's also like just mentally draining, spiritually draining, emotionally draining as well. It's so important to have just a well-rounded life, and that's something I always tell guys as well. Like, you should always, get your life sorted out in general, whether that's fun activities, hobbies, but also, job, career, etc. And divide your time. Spend some amount of time in your life picking up girls, dating, etc. But don't spend an excessive amount of time on it, because that's not going to be, it's not going to yield good results.
How would you pick me up if you could? If I was walking down the street and you thought, I'm going to pick her up, what lines would you use?
Depends on the context, really. I mean, if you were just kind of like walking down the street and I noticed you, it would be just like a generic opener that I always use, which is like, "Hey, excuse me, this is random, but I just saw you. I thought you looked nice. Wanted to come and say hi." And then from there, just trying to develop a conversation as I can, depending on how receptive you would be. So, like, if you were quite receptive to it, like, "Oh, thank you, that's really nice," then that would be like a positive signal to like continue a bit more. And then, yeah, I would, yeah, just try and develop a conversation from there. So, like, maybe obviously, because the hard part is like the fact that we don't really know each other, but we're still trying to get like a decent kind of conversation going. So maybe I'd pick out certain things that I would notice about you. So it could be like what you're wearing, maybe you're holding some bags, maybe you look like you just came from the gym. So I'd maybe start off the conversation just commenting on that, maybe building some kind of assumptions, but trying to make it fun and playful at the same time.
Do you, because I've seen videos where you'll have a group of men out and they'll be like, I don't want to say loitering, but they'll be, on the street, and then they will see a woman and they will run up to her and that type of thing. Do you have to set out like a certain amount of time to do day game?
No, it's whatever you want, really. I mean, you could spend the whole day doing it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. No, it's just whatever you want, really. I mean, normally I would recommend, like, if you are going to do like a dedicated session, because if they're a guy who's a beginner and he's starting out, or beginner intermediate, and there's room for improvement, then doing dedicated sessions is definitely ideal, because you do need to get the practice in. But if you're more an advanced guy, then yeah, I say like you should just try to integrate it more into your life. Maybe do some dedicated sessions either by yourself or with a friend. But yeah, there's no like set time that you should do. I mean, I generally say to guys that you should aim for probably about 30 approaches a week if you're serious about getting dates. I would say that that's what you would probably need to do in London to get like to get dates from cold approach. Yeah, because
Are you paying on all your first dates?
say again, sorry.
Are you paying on all your first dates?
Yeah, normally I do. Yeah, I generally just, I don't really discuss it or anything. I just take my wallet and pay for it, and then the girl has the option to like interject or whatever. Normally I just say, "Oh no, don't worry about it. It's all right. I got this."
Is that not very expensive for you, depending on the amount
Yeah,
of
it is. Yeah, yeah, it
going
can
on?
be actually. But I normally go to like cheap, crappy places anyway. So like I don't. Well, the thing is, I don't like go to like really extravagant places, and I don't really um I don't really wine and dine that much. I generally go to like just a simple drink in a bar, something like that. Uh, yeah, but yeah, you're right. It can add up. It can definitely add up. So you have to be a little bit careful about that.
Have the places that you've chosen for dates impacted your success rate at all? Because some of us girls are bougie.
Yes, yeah. Logistics are definitely important. Like where the place is, where you live. If you're planning on getting her back, that can definitely be a big factor as well. Yeah, I mean, for me, what I try to do, if it's a bar, I'm looking for like a place where it's quite dimly lit. There's a nice kind of romantic atmosphere, and there's ideally like sofa seating, because there you can sit next to the girl. It's much easier to touch and escalate physically, rather than you know if you're sitting thinking about like a traditional like coffee date setting where you're sitting opposite. It can be a bit awkward if you're like touching in that kind of place, especially when there's like people like all kinds of people, like women with families, families, old people, etc. Around. So yeah, the venue is important, 100%, and it can make a big difference, 100%. Yeah. And that's why
Is there
like it's quite important to plan it out. I tell guys, actually, yeah, you should try and plan out what you're going to do on the date, how you're going to do it, where you're going to go, etc.
What do you do for second and third dates? Is it the same thing, or do you try and keep it in the home?
Um, it can be the same thing for me. It depends. So like depends where I am as well, because and it depends, what kind of mood I'm in as well. So sometimes I'll do like activity dates. Last year in Ukraine, I was doing a lot of activity dates. So like I would go to like an amusement park. I would go to like a water park, various kind of fun activities. Partly because I wanted to do them anyway and I enjoyed it. So it's a good excuse to do that with a girl as well on a date. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, it's kind of like more the same really. Go for a drink, sit down somewhere. Um, yeah, go for a walk. It's good to switch it up a bit, not do the same thing over and over again because that can be a bit boring. But just like, keep it spontaneous, keep it fun. Do some various activities. So, sometimes in London, for example, I might, maybe we'll go to like an art gallery on one date and then afterwards go to a bar. So spend like an hour in an art gallery, then spend another hour in a bar, something like that.
Have you been played before by women or
What,
women?
what do you mean by that?
Just
I think
played,
I think I know what you mean, but how would you define that?
mugged off, mugged off. How would you
Yes,
describe
yeah,
and how would you describe it?
yeah, that's happened quite a few times actually. So uh, I guess because I've got a few stories really, but yeah, I mean, when I was in Mexico,
The worst one, preferably.
okay. I don't know if it's the worst, but recently, actually, the first date I went on here, this is my second time in Ukraine. So, like, the first date I went on here, basically, the girl, basically, I met this girl. Her English was very, very bad, but we decided to meet up anyway. She actually came to the date with her friend, which for me, it's not really ideal because her friend was supposed to kind of act as like a translator. But again, it's just not really ideal when there's two girls and one guy. I mean, if I had a friend as well, it would have been fine. But yeah, so basically, we sit down. Her English is very, very limited. The conversation was a bit awkward because it was just a bit of a language barrier. Well, it was very much a language barrier, even with the translator. So it's just like short sentences, short answers, just jumping around like lots of different questions. And it wasn't a very substantial conversation. But then she started asking me questions about like, what do you do here? How long are you going to be here? What are your plans, etc., etc. And obviously, I'm not going to lie to her. I'm not going to, I try to be like honest. I just say, yeah, I'm living here for now, but I travel around a lot and stuff. And she kind of interpreted that as maybe me being like a sex tourist. And so she then speaks Russian with her friend for a bit, and her friend then says, "Nice to meet you," shakes my hand, and then leaves. And so I'm thinking, oh, her friend's leaving us to it then. Okay, cool. But then the actual girl follows her friend out as well, doesn't actually say anything. She just follows her friend out. And so I'm thinking, oh, maybe she's just gone for like a fag break or to the toilet or something. But no, she just left. She didn't say anything, just left, just straight like that. And so that kind of annoyed me a bit. But yeah, it's that was harsh, but that's just one of the things. Yeah.
I mean, played in another sense. So not just stood up, but I mean, has a girl like manipulated you in the
Oh, right.
past?
Not really. I mean, I've
Led you on?
not really. No. I mean, I've had some girls who acted a bit funny or like they were being a bit emotionally manipulative, but that stuff doesn't really work on me anyway. So, no, not to be honest, not
With the
not.
sex tourism thing, with lots of PUAs and dating coaches, cold approach guys going to places like Ukraine or places in Russia or Brazil to meet women, do you think that's kind of hindered the success rate in a way because now women feel that they're just here to hook up with beautiful women from their country and it's a form of sex tourism?
Well, kind of, yeah. But the thing is, sex tourism was happening way before, like, the pickup guys went over there. And really, there's only really a handful of like, I guess like coaches or going over there. And obviously, there's a few other guys who are part of the community who are going over there. But it's not like an epidemic. It's not like some kind of mass immigration thing. It's just a few guys going over there. And yes, it can have an impact. If a girl has been approached before by a foreign guy, then it's going to feel a bit weird. That happened to me last year in Serbia, actually, where I approached one girl or a couple of girls, and she told me, "Oh, I've already been approached by another guy from London," and then obviously that means that it just seems a bit weird at that point, and it's not really going to go anywhere. But yeah, yeah, sex tourism is a thing. I mean, a lot of the girls in these countries, they know that foreign guys go over there because they know that they're some of the most beautiful girls in the world, and they know that it's definitely a thing. However, that's kind of like the negative view of it. The positive view would be that, a lot of these girls do want to meet foreign guys. They do like foreign guys. They think it's cool to meet foreign guys. Potentially, they want to leave their own country at some point in the future, and this could be a potential avenue for that as well. So
they're seeing
yeah,
it as a carrot that is being dangled.
potentially. For some, yes, for some, not necessarily. But yeah, it could potentially be.
How do you feel about that? Because I hate to compare it to this, but I've seen some programs, some series, 90 Day Fiance, where there are women from poorer countries that want to escape that type of poverty, and traditionally they do believe in supporting their families, so they will marry a white man or a Western guy, USA, UK, that they've met online, and then move over with them in order to get money to support their family back home and for better opportunities abroad. Do you feel that some women are holding on to that hope when a foreign guy approaches them? And do you feel like it's, what's the word? What is the word? It's like, the word has completely slipped my mind. But is it, what's the, I can't think of the word.
Like,
Pardon?
what do you mean? Do you mean like manipulative, or do you mean abusive, or
Not abusive, but do you feel like I guess in a way, a bit manipulative? Like these women want, better lives for themselves, better lives for their families. If
I
they hook up
don't.
with you,
Yeah,
there's a possibility of UK passport, USA passport, better life.
no, I don't think it's manipulative from their point of view, because that it's not their
I mean,
fault.
from your point of view, not from their point of
Well,
view.
either way, because I'm looking at it from their point of view anyway, because I look trying to be objective about these things. It's not just about what I think; it's also about what they think. That's equally as important. So, it's not their point. It's not their fault that they were born in a poorer country and that they're trying to better their lives. That I could never hold that against anyone. And so, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily what they're doing is manipulative. However, there might come a point where people do need to communicate a bit better in terms of what their expectations are for the future. So, like for me, I would never ever string a girl along for months on end, pretending that I'm going to be the one to be with her for the rest of her life. I would never ever do that to a girl, because it's just not being honest. And in the same way, when you apply it to something like this, I don't think that, I do think that if a girl is looking from a foreign country to meet a foreign guy to get that green card or to get that visa or whatever, that should be at least communicated, not necessarily in those terms, but at least saying, that I want to build a life in America or in the UK or whatever, and I would like to build that with you. So that needs to be communicated 100%, because that can lead to so much negative stuff in the future if these things aren't being communicated.
Okay, I see. Are there any questions that you would like to ask me, or anything that you would like to say before we wrap up?
I guess I don't really know too much about you in terms of your stance. I know obviously you've had some maybe negative experiences with some guys who maybe were delving into like the pickup stuff a bit. Have you, I guess, like, have you ever been approached by a guy like just out on the street in London, like cold approach?
Got a cold approach.
Yeah.
I have been, and it's never worked. I've never given my number to someone I met in the street. I gave my number to my Uber driver on the weekend. He's married, but he was like, no, I didn't give him my number. I gave him my Instagram, sorry. He's married, but he was like, I think, I was drunk anyway, but he was like, I think my friend would be really interested in you. He's a that type of person. And, you know.
And his friend was him.
No, he's married. He's happily married. He's got a gorgeous wife.
Well,
pictures of all over the social media. And so, yeah, good conversation, nice guy. You're going to think that his friend is similarly yoked, obviously. But I have given my number out, I would say, in a bar. It's not really a number, it's more social media nowadays. When I've been out with friends, that type of thing. But day-to-day life, when I've been approached, cold approach, it's never ended in the way that the person approaching me would have hoped.
Okay.
And I guess the reason for me doing a couple of episodes on my podcast on male dating and the communities and pickup artistry, blue pill, black pill, red pill, incels, is because I find it interesting. I was thinking about the times that I had been approached. And also a part of me would like to protect some women that may be naive or may not understand pickup artistry when it comes across and it's performed in a negative manner, to protect themselves from being possibly used and, you know, feeling hurt, being manipulated, because some pickup artists are not as honest and will lie about who they are as a person, their characteristics. That's really dishonest. That's not really nice. And also incels really interest me because I followed the Elliot Rodger case. I think that happened when I was 19 and I was at university at the time. And I remember before all of his YouTube videos got deleted, I did watch them to understand what he was going through. And there was some racial aspects, like some racism there, some entitlement. And I just find it interesting with incels that kind of feel entitled to women. Or to have a woman. I want to understand the mentality, the psychology, the background. What role does society have to play in it? I'm a journalist that's very curious about many different things. So I may research for 1 week, you know, try and learn as much as possible, get some interviews, and then move on to the next stage. Plus, I really love talking about sex, relationships, psychology, and dating. So
sure, I mean, just on like your point earlier about you know, getting approached by pickup artists, I think like obviously there are, like you said, there are going to be some who, you know, maybe they don't have the best intentions, or at least they're not going to have the same expectations that you're looking for, kind of thing. However, there are, you know, I think it's important, as with anything in life, not to sort of generalize people too much just because they're doing a certain thing, because, you know, there are a lot of guys doing it who are genuine and they are coming from a good place. They are good people. You know, they're just ambitious guys trying to improve their dating life. So I know it's quite common to associate things in general because you've had a few negative experiences, you know, but yeah, I think it's just important to take things on like a case by case basis. You know, when a guy does approach you, don't just automatically assume that he's got bad experience or he's got bad intentions just because he's doing pickup artistry or whatever. I think it really depends on how he's doing it and the vibe you're getting from him.
I probably wouldn't date someone that is a pickup artist, or that's just my personal thing. I don't know why. I guess I'm very, you know, you said you went on a date with a woman and there was kind of like a language barrier. For me, that would be a vibe killer from the go. I couldn't go on. I couldn't even say yes to someone I couldn't communicate with, because for me, like, communication is my life. I'm a very good communicator. So I don't know if I could date someone that's into that, just because I know that sometimes when it comes to pickup artistry, the person that I'm sold is not the person that I'm actually going to get.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Perhaps. But I mean, I get that, I guess. I mean, but I mean, like some for example, like I would probably argue that if you were to meet someone on Tinder, that's probably going to be exacerbated even further. Like what you're thinking you're getting isn't actually what you're going to get. Um, so yeah, I mean, the thing is, just because someone's approaching you out in public, it's easy to make associations like, oh, he does this all the time, or like, or he's probably just wants me for sex, that kind of thing. But actually, that's not the case. Oftentimes, one guy that might approach you on the street, it could be, it could be like the second time he's ever done it in his life because he genuinely really likes you and he genuinely really wants to build that connection with you. So, like I said before, I think it is important to,
He likes
take everything
it,
on a case by case basis and just don't just make assumptions because of
but he
yeah.
he likes my appearance though. He can't genuinely like me. Day game and that type of thing is kind of the same as Tinder because you are judging on looks. It's
Initially,
I think this
yes. Initially, yes.
factor.
But with day game, you are having that interaction for like 5 minutes or something where you can find out about each other. There's loads of times like when I go in to do interactions when I like the girl's look, and that is important. There's no denying that that's important for a relationship. Where I am physically attracted, but when I go in and speak to her, we're just not resonating on a personality level. And then I won't ask for her number. I'll just be like, well, it was nice speaking to you. Have a good day. That happens loads of times with me. So yeah, like, it's not always the same thing. That's just kind of my point, really.
I understand where you're coming from. I don't know. I think that obviously you do have popular communities, but it's not every day that I am coming across like people doing day game or picking up and that type of thing. So I understand what you mean, but I don't think I'm probably going to be approached for a while now. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but it also depends what mood I'm in. Sometimes I may just be like, F off. Do you know what I mean? Don't talk to me.
Yeah,
Don't look at me. Go away. Sometimes it can be like that. Sometimes you're just not in the mood
yeah,
to got my headphones in. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
walking. Londoners are rude. I live in London, so
Yeah,
it
same. I'm from London as well, and yeah, I've experienced that a lot, a lot. People are just not in the mood to talk, and that's fine because that's the nature of college approach. They're not entitled to speak to you. You just have to be okay with that, and not take it personally.
yeah. Any other questions? And
Um, no, I think yeah, no, it's been good. I'm not sure anything on the top of my head right now, but yeah, no, it's been good. It's been insightful.
I agree. It's been interesting. Where can people find you? Media links, website. Best to
Yes,
reach out or to get to know you a bit more, to put a name to the
sure.
face to the
Yes.
name.
So my YouTube channel is called Ed Game Coaching. So that's Ed Game Coaching, not to be confused with End Game. So if you just type in Ed Game, the Avengers film comes up. So that's why I put coaching at the end as well. So yeah, Ed Game Coaching. If you type that in on YouTube, you'll find my YouTube channel. And then my website is ed-game.com.
Cheers for watching. If you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching with me where we'll go out in public and work on you approaching girls, or more generally with your social confidence, please visit my website ed-game.com.